Welcome to our all-new podcast, Reloaded, sponsored by 5-Star Firearms. I'm Clinton.
I'm Luke.
And this is our very first episode, and we're going to talk about guns, the gun industry, ammunition, cool stuff that happens, customers, store products.
A little bit of
reviews.
everything, yeah. We'll be talking news, maybe a little political issues that might be coming up, things that legality-wise could be changing here and there, rumors. We'll do rumors.
I think this is something we decided to start doing because we both love firearms. Both have a certain passion for the industry, but, guns have always been something I've been into since I was a little kid, and pretty sure you have too, and it's just kind of part of our life. We love what we do, and we kind of like our jobs.
My first memory of being into guns is my grandpa had a bunch of revolvers and pistols up in a glass display case above his bed. I remember as like a little kid thinking a Ruger Mark II looked like a little laser gun from the future.
That's probably not good, but yeah, very nice.
So what are we going to talk about first?
Well, I guess we can talk about how 5-Star came about, how we got to where we're at today, I guess, and how everything kind of evolved into this. I guess we'll start with the speed loaders. This is a little product I developed about 15 years ago. Actually came about with a pistol that my wife had purchased for me. I bought a speed loader. They're still on the market today. The first time I went to use it, it broke. I'm a machinist by trade, so manufacturing and designing something I've always been into, and when that happened, I took it back to work and decided to make my own, redeveloped it, started using it at the range, and somebody had asked me to purchase it. So light bulb went off in my head. Next thing you know, I developed 6 different ones for a variety of different models.
Do you remember which one you did first?
It was for the L6,
Okay.
586 Smith & Wesson. Beautiful gun, still have it today. Was the first revolver I'd ever owned. And the way I had manufactured it, I'd slimmed it up and cleaned it up and matched it to the cylinder of the firearm. So it became a natural fit. The biggest difference with our product and what's on the market today is that these are manufactured from all 6061 aircraft aluminum. So they're super light, and it also allowed us to manufacture them in a way that other people couldn't. So with injection molding and things of that nature, the way most speed loaders are produced, they weren't able to hold the shape and form that we were with aluminum. But at the same time, ours cost a little bit more, but you get a much better product. So,
well, how many of these do we sell a month? Like $120,000 total?
Well, we sell thousands of these a month. So, initially when we had started this, I was making them off the side after work, after hours, on the weekends, things like that. And it had progressed to where I was doing gun shows and selling them to local gun shops and things of that nature, and it just kind of spread. And it actually spread with little or no advertising at all. All the advertising was being done by the customers, which was the best part of it. So people who were getting these, once we had built a website and they started showing up online about a year or two after I got into it, people were posting them on the internet and creating their own video reviews, and it progressed from there. So as time went on, I said, why aren't we making a speed loader for every firearm on the market? And today, 15, almost 20 years later, we now manufacture a speed loader for every revolver on the market. Everything right down to the 2-shot Bond Arms Derringer. Which seems silly, but with that being said, I think one of the speed loaders I wanted to develop right away was for the Smith & Wesson 500. And I remember a guy telling me when I was designing that he goes, you're never going to sell those. Nobody needs a speed loader for a Smith & Wesson 500.
He was wrong.
Yeah, so it's actually one of our #1 selling products. And the cool thing about that is it set off a light bulb in my head. I said, the gun industry and products that we use and purchase aren't always about need. It's about want. And the other thing I found out was this basically is jewelry for men. So with the billet aluminum, we're able to anodize them different colors and offer them in, pretty much every model available on the market. So the 500, the 460s, the 44s, the 454s, the big caliber market was a huge hit for us moving forward. So we are the only company in the world that manufactures a speed loader for those types of firearms. But we also cover some of the oddball stuff, and now we work directly with a lot of the manufacturers like Taurus, Ruger,
Kimber.
Charter Arms, Kimber. They all purchase our product and sell direct on their website now. So,
there's a lot of outlets to buy these too. You can get them on Amazon. You can get them here in store. You can get them on 5starfirearms.com. And we do a lot more than just the speed loaders too. These are the bed blocks.
Yep.
Speed loader goes into it, and we make these in a variety of shapes and sizes too. And we make these stands here, display stands, very convenient to leave your gun on. We use them here in the store.
So having the background in manufacturing and firearms allowed us to develop all these new products, and then the store just kind of evolved from there. So I think probably about 8 years ago, we set up a storefront in the front of our manufacturing facility. It was about 10 foot by 20 foot, and that was our initial gun store.
Moles and the guns stacked high.
Yeah. I mean, we had very little space to work with, but it was the start of it. And the product wasn't really meant to go into that. It's just the two things kind of went hand in hand. And here we are today with this big, beautiful facility, a 16-lane indoor gun range, full service department for gunsmithing. I think we've got probably close to 1,000 firearms in stock here now. We're probably, actually, I know we're one of the biggest distributors in Lake County. And the beauty of it is when we took on the store, it was kind of my baby, so to speak, as far as the company was concerned. So a lot of the gun stores I went into and ranges I went to, people were coarse or harsh, and it's just it's a different type of industry. It's not like going to a box store, you know what I mean? So I wanted it to be a family-friendly environment, and I think that's where a lot of our customer base comes from today, is that we've developed this facility with a family-friendly environment, and the one thing people will say about us is our customer service, and that's because of the staff we have and how our range officers treat people. And yeah, it's really been a cool trip.
Yeah, we got a lot of regular families that come in. Wednesday nights we got the range specials. So we had families into nights. We had a regular family that comes in every Friday. We're kid friendly here. That's a nice touch.
Yeah. And you know what? I've met a lot of cool people and also tapped a lot of resources in the industry through all this. And yeah, it's definitely been a big learning experience. We had a radio show a few years ago called The Gun Show on AM 1050. And
well, that's kind of how this spawned, because I've been bugging you for 2 years to do another radio
to
show.
do the podcast. Yeah, so this is something we decided to do internally with the podcast, and not just for advertising, but to get the word out about certain things that we're doing here, and new products, and some of the stuff in the industry that people aren't fully aware of. So
one of the things you and I were talking about is, by pure coincidence, your first gun and my first gun were almost the same gun. Mine was at the time the Smith & Wesson SW9, I think, and then the SD series was announced right later, and you had the Sigma 40, right?
Yeah.
Horrible gun.
I love Smith & Wesson, but that thing is tragic. Yeah, even for a first-time firearm, it's basically a defensive firearm. It wasn't something that I was into. And honestly, today, I'm not somebody who purchases commodity guns. I'm not into that thing. I fell into the Glock category. That's just kind of the pistol that ended up fitting my hand, and that's just the road I went down. And, that's one of the unique things about this industry, is that, people will tell you, buy a Smith, buy a Glock, buy a Ruger. It's all personal preference. It's about what fits your hand, what's going to work for you. I mean, Smith & Wesson builds a great gun. they have 3 different models that I prefer specifically, but in general, for purchasing, I'm a revolver guy. So I'm into the old classic firearms, the revolvers they've manufactured and things of that nature. But for a defensive firearm and a target gun on the range, I prefer Glock. And despite what anybody tells you, all these manufacturers have lifetime warranties now. So it's not about the brand. It's more about what's going to work for you.
The fact of the matter is most of them were pretty good, because we get a lot of people that had a gentleman just the other day, like he really wanted me to tell him the 320 was the be-all end-all of firearm existence, you know? But like these SDs we were talking about, I shot over 6,000 rounds through mine and never had a single malfunction. And at the time, that was all Walmart Tula ammo, you know, $5.99 a box.
Tragic stuff. And that's the other thing. Not all guns like that are going to cycle everything. So, I mean, I know people that are HK junkies. HK makes a great gun, obviously. The VP9, that's one of the better selling guns. SIG with the 365, those are great guns. Some of them can be finicky with ammunition. That's why I prefer Glock. Those things will eat anything. So from a defensive standpoint, that's where it worked for me. And I know you're a Smith guy. So
I've actually had one more failure on a Glock than a Smith. So for me, my personal record is Smith at 0, Glock at 1. My Glock 48, though, that one was a Jam-O-Matic for the first box of ammo.
Whatever.
I don't know what was up with that, but we don't count that one, though. It's been fine since.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the reality of the situation. If you're coming in to buy a gun, one of the cool things that we offer here is a rental program. So for $15, you can shoot every firearm we have in the rental cabinet. We're a stocking Smith, Glock, H&K dealer, so we keep the most popular, newest items in those cabinets, and if you come in and you're not sure what you want, we're going to have you shoot those firearms first to see what actually fits you.
Yeah, we got 40-ish guns in the rental case.
Yep.
Handful of ARs, 1 shotgun, but that stuff comes and goes, too. If we get used guns that are cool, we'll switch them out.
Yep.
So you never know what's going to be in there.
And the other thing is if you don't see what you want, is probably a 99% chance somebody here at this facility has it. Just ask. We're more than happy to help you. Bring it in. Let you shoot our own personal stuff, too. So
we let people shoot the used guns quite a bit, too.
Yep.
Every now and then.
Yeah, as long as they're not a consignment gun, we'll let you shoot those, too. So before you buy it, try it. Try before you buy. You don't buy a car without test driving it first, right, Luke?
I haven't.
Me neither. So basically, that's what our podcast is going to be about. This is a good intro for us. You know, we'd like to open it up to bigger things here moving forward and see where it goes.
And if there's anything you want us to talk about, feel free to reach out to us. You can get us on a 5-Star Firearms Facebook, you know, come into the store, talk to us. We plan to do a wide variety of subjects on this channel. So another segment we'll be doing on this podcast from time to time is going to be called Unloaded. As I'm sure some of you can understand, people who work retail especially are going to understand this.
I'm going to be really good at this section of the podcast.
We get some pretty odd, out there, dumb stuff going on in here from time to time. I recently had that...
And it's not even necessarily dumb. I just want to say, so to us it comes off as dumb. But
the lady that asked if we had a shot rifle that shot AR-15s.
What about the lady that asked if her gun came with warning shots? That's not a joke, okay? Some of the stuff we hear in here, and okay, so there is some dumb stuff, but a lot of it, you know, I just want to say is, you know, people aren't, we're used to it. We work in a gun store, so we're supposed to know all the ins and outs and everything that goes on, and you hear things, and you just shake your head, and you try and be as polite as you can when you respond to them, and there is no question that's stupid, I guess, when it comes to firearms, but there are stupid things customers say. But generally speaking, I think a lot of that hit us during the riots.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've been doing this 10 years now, you know, between here and a different store, and most of my crazy customer stories come from this store,
yes.
Despite me working at the different store for 8 and here for a little over 2.
Yeah, so... I mean, one of the amazing...
COVID.
Yeah. I've experienced every part of the gun industry you could think of as far as clientele and, you know, just every in and out you could think of. So the biggest thing that happened to us and the biggest learning experience I had was during the riots and the pandemic. So these two things combined, happening together, created the ultimate shitstorm. And that's the only way to put it.
Record first-time gun buyers, and unless you've been living under a rock, I mean, that was even on all over the news and everything.
Yeah, and I've never seen such a feeding frenzy in my entire life, and there wasn't enough time to stop all the stupid that was going on during that, but we did what we could. But you know, with that being said, there's gun store etiquette. We're one of the few businesses left in the industry that's still allowed to discriminate for certain reasons. You know, if we don't feel that we're comfortable with you owning a firearm or things of that nature, we don't have to sell you a gun.
I mean, I turn away a lot of people if they come in here and say they've never shot a gun before. It's nothing personal to any of you people, but we'd rather you get a little training and know what you're doing, because
At least
there's
try
been
it
many
first.
times where people buy a gun, and I don't want to sound rude here, but particularly women will buy a gun and they can't handle the recoil or it scares them. You know, I mean, we've had people shoot a gun in the range and
Right.
drop it immediately after.
And that, I mean, that goes back to, you know, you don't buy a car without test driving it first. So we don't want to sell you something that you're going to come back in with a week later and go, you know, I hate this thing, and then be disappointed that we offer you a price that's 20 or 30% less than what you paid for it, because now we have to resell this as a used firearm. So instead of doing that to our customers, we'd rather you try the items first, find something that's going to work for you that you're comfortable with. That way you're not trading it back in.
Now, this, like I said, I've been doing this a long time, so something that surprises me, here in Illinois, you have to have a FOID card to buy a firearm. You may or may not know that. If you don't know that, now you know. You have to have a FOID card, firearm owner identification card. But we had hundreds, if not thousands, of people come in here. They want to buy a gun. We ask them for their FOID, and what's a FOID? Mm-hmm. So we had to turn a lot of people away during the last 2 years because they just didn't know. They weren't gun people. They wanted to buy a gun. So they come in here, and it's a shock. And then the other thing is, you know, contrary to what you may see on TV, you do have to do a background check to buy a firearm, and offering us more money to not do the background check does not work in your favor.
Yeah, so that's actually a very interesting thing. So during the riots, I would say we had at least 20 plus people that came in here to purchase a weapon for personal defense. Now, with that being said, a lot of our staff lives in Wisconsin. Most of us are Wisconsin residents, where we're not required to have a FOID card, but we are a licensed Wisconsin and Illinois dealer, so we can sell in both states. And we have another office up in Kenosha. But the people from Illinois that were immediately freaked out by the situation that was going on came in to purchase firearms for defense and didn't realize that they needed to have this card to purchase a gun. So to me, that was kind of comical, because these are the same people that are telling us, in my perspective, these are the same people that were so disconnected with the industry, didn't realize that they needed this just to defend themselves in this state.
We had people come in more than a handful of times, and maybe you had someone ask you this too. They'd come up and be like, I need the most powerful gun you have. And it's like, you're 5'5", 130 pounds, like you do not need that.
Yeah.
You'll be just fine with something smaller.
Yeah, so I mean, that whole thing that went down, I mean, we literally emptied this store in 2 days. I have pictures and videos of the cabinets. We sold everything. There wasn't anything left.
Hunting rifles and single actions.
It didn't matter. I mean, people were coming in and they're like, what do you have left? So that created this thing where we were encountering a lot of people that were coming back a week or two later that just didn't have the right gun store etiquette, and we weren't comfortable, you know, providing them with anything further at that point. So, I mean, it was definitely an interesting time, and when you come into a gun store, one of the things you got to do is you got to fill out a 4473. Doesn't matter what state you live in.
Federal form.
This is a federal document. We are licensed by the federal government to sell firearms. When you purchase a gun, you're going to fill out a background check. It's not a one-time thing. Every time you buy a gun, you have to fill this form out.
And here in Illinois, we do have a mandatory 3-day wait. Every now and then, it does go longer, and especially, like Clinton said, the last when COVID and the riots first started happening,
Oh, man,
3-week waiting periods were common.
Yeah, 3 weeks to a month.
We were having people getting approved on their 1 month, and it's like, hey, you have to pick up your gun today because tomorrow you have to start a new background check.
Yeah.
Background checks are only good for a month.
Yeah, 30 days. So when you come in and we ask you to fill out this document, it's just part of the deal of purchasing a firearm.
And then some things here we're going to bring up. The form does say, you probably won't be able to read this, it does say middle name, not middle initial. So please remember middle name.
They got some new interesting things on here. Under sex, you can pick male, female, or non-binary.
Surprisingly, I think we've only had one so far that clicked non-binary.
Yeah.
We're not throwing anyone under the bus, we're just saying it happened.
The other thing is the ethnicity. The federal government has separated ethnicity and race, and now they want to know whether you're Hispanic or Latino or not.
So, for example,
And
most...
that's separate from everything else, and I'm just assuming that the federal government thinks everybody's going to be brown in the future. That's just what's going to happen, right?
So, for example, if you're South American, you're most likely going to be picking Hispanic white. We didn't make the rules, people. We didn't.
Yeah. This isn't my document.
You know, a lot of times I get, I don't know what it is about Italians. Italians want a box that say Italians. I've heard that several times. People look at me like, where's Italian?
Interesting.
Are you Italian?
I am not. So, yeah, I mean, this is all part of the gun store etiquette. If you come in here throwing a fit, acting like a jerk, we decide not to sell you a gun, that's what's going to happen. We're not going to sell you a gun. This isn't Walmart. We're not here to, kiss your butt and get you whatever you want. So
Now, as a whole, I'm on the sales floor the most here out of anyone, and most of our people, all of our people are usually very helpful, but, you got to be patient. Sometimes it might not look like we're helping anyone, but sometimes it takes a few months to finish up our paperwork and after a sale. So if you come in and we don't help you immediately, please don't be offended. We're just trying to get this done before we forget about it and mistakes happen.
yeah, and that's one of the other things now is our staffing issues. So
Well, it's not us. Everyone's short-staffed.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's short-staffed, but it hasn't helped any of the industries at all. So I think we've got a pretty solid staff here now and a good group of people to help when you come in. So that's our main goal. So one of the other things that came along with the feeding frenzy that happened was an ammo shortage. So new buyers new buyers and people who already owned firearms consumed a huge portion of the ammunition that was left in the industry, which left manufacturers without the components to resupply. So simple economics, supply and demand. They used whatever components they had left over to manufacture, and immediately the price went up. Before all this happened, 9mm was selling for what, about $7 a box?
Oh, no, like 15.
No, it was $7 to $8 a box for cheap stuff, right?
You talking about like 15 years ago prices?
No, I'm saying before the pandemic. I'm saying like you could get like crappy Blazer aluminum case ammo for $8-9 a box, right? So when that hit, it drove the price up. I mean, double, triple, almost triple.
Oh, a 9mm got up to $1 a round for a while, and at gun shows people were paying more.
Yeah, so it was like, there was at one point it was selling for $50 a box, and it wasn't the stores doing that. So again, back to economics, simple supply and demand, the price got driven up, and specifically 9mm. Well, the second type of ammunition to go in a pandemic or things of this nature is .22 long rifle. Cheap, it's affordable. Bam, that was the next thing to get totally absconded from the market. So when that happened, I mean, we were literally begging for ammunition because we've got a range to feed, so we had to have it here at the facility no matter what the price was.
Now, was 5-Star opened when Sandy Hook happened?
Yeah.
Because that was the first ammo shortage that I went through.
Okay.
But that was temporary. All that bounced back after 3 to 4 months. So this one was way worse.
That one was pretty quick, and we're just starting to bounce back now. We're starting to see the price go down a little bit, but
And we got a lot in stock right now.
Yeah, and the last time this happened under Obama, it had lasted about 2 years. So generally speaking, these types of things last anywhere from 2 to 3 years. And when the price came back down, it never went back to the original price. So it came down a little bit, but not all the way back to where it was. And I think we're going to see that again, to where we were paying, $4 or $5 for a 50-round box of 22 ammo. I think that price is going to settle out somewhere between $7 and $8 a box. It's never going to go back to $5. It's just not going to happen.
What's the cheapest you remember 9mm being?
$7, $8 a box.
Yeah, when I first started shooting, steel case was about $7 a box and brass was 10.
Yeah. And then we get the old timers that come in here complaining about the price of 22 and stuff now. I remember when I paid $1 a box. Yeah, okay, well, the days are gone.
I got a box at home from Farm and Fleet from 1994.
Yeah, it says
for $4.99
or something.
That happened to me today.
But yeah, and I think with this whole shortage, there's a lot of things that go into the cost being as high as it is. So one of the main components that goes into ammunition is primers. Well, one of the main components of manufacturing a primer is the powdered nitroglycerin they use to use as an accelerant for the gunpowder. That's not something that's produced here in the U.S. There are new companies starting up now that are going to start manufacturing primers, but primarily primers are made overseas and imported. So with all the restrictions, COVID, closed borders, the trucking problems, everything, all of this is compounded into one big problem where the price has gone through the roof. I saw primers selling for an absurd amount, to the point where it was cheaper to buy the ammunition than it was to buy the components to manufacture your own ammunition. So that's one of the hurdles we're trying to get over in the market right now, and we're not fully there yet, but we're getting closer. And the one thing I don't see, because we sell a lot of reloading components, there is a lot of powder coming in now. Ogden, Winchester, Alliant. A lot of that stuff is becoming more readily available here in the last 6 months. But
Still selling as fast as it comes in, though.
It is. It's selling as fast as it comes in, and I mean we're selling probably 200 to 300 pounds a week of gunpowder. But what I'm not seeing is the primers. So what I do see coming in is coming from overseas, mainly in Europe. And in the last month, I haven't seen any. That's been completely shut off. And I think a lot of that's in part due to the Russian-Ukraine issue that's going on right now. And that's actually going to add to the problem that we're having.
And I mentioned that on a Facebook video. A lot of AKs are made in Europe. Speculation is that they're going to stay in Europe, not come over here for sale.
Correct.
But most of the 7.62 by 39, 7.62 54, which are two popular rounds that people like to shoot here because they're affordable and readily available, are mostly made in Russia or China. So those are probably about to dry up, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
And we're already seeing that with the suppliers.
So that was the other thing, is that I've seen a big increase in sales with the AK-47s, and obviously because of the situation that's going on right now, we didn't sell an AK-47 for probably 2-3 months, and then all of a sudden, bam, they're going flying off the shelf.
About a dozen a week the last 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
But supply is about run out. I did a Facebook video recently, and then after that video, we got real lucky. One of the distributors had a couple thousand in stock the next day, so it kind of made me look like a jackass. But that supply is about gone already again. There's only a few hundred left last time I checked. And
that's probably easy to do, right? Yeah.
350 million people in this country, and a lot of them looking for AKs at the moment.
I already have one, so I'm good. But yeah, with that being said, a lot of the AKs coming out of Romania, Poland,
Serbia.
We haven't seen a Russian one in forever because I think Obama banned import on those, right?
Yep.
So, I mean, that and the ammunition supply, now with all the things going on between the governments, you're not going to see any of that ammo coming in. So yes, there are American manufacturers that are going to start producing 7.62 by 39, but you're not going to be getting it for the same price as you were getting it from these third world.
Yeah, American 7.62-39 is easily $1 around, like Winchester, and you barely see it lately anyway.
Right.
Because Winchester's not worried about making AK ammo; they're worried about making AR ammo and 9mm ammo.
Yeah. So I'm guessing the price of that's going to go up to where we're at with 5.6 and 2.23 for 7.62.
Something else I wanted to talk about with you. What is your opinion on the new Smith & Wesson 30 Super Carry? I personally think it's going to flop.
Most people know better than to ask me my opinion, but with the new 30 Super Carry, so we'll get into this real quick. This is a new gun developed by Smith & Wesson. The ammunition was developed by Federal. I'm going to kind of compare its likeness to the 327, but worse. Okay? So the 327 Magnum, actually kind of a cool caliber, cool gun. Never really took off because it's that in-between caliber of 38 Special and 357. Nobody wants it. It's expensive. It's hard to get. There's only a few companies that manufacture the ammo for it.
And Smith dropped that gun from their production, the next year?
Smith dropped it within a year. Ruger dropped it for a while and then brought it back with the LCR. Taurus just brought it back this year with one of their new revolvers. Charter Arms is the only company that still manufactures a 327 from day one on out.
And that was cool because it had backwards compatibility with 5 other cartridges, whereas 30 Super Carry is its own thing.
So the 30 Super Carry is not a 30 caliber handgun. So this is a 9mm on steroids. It's just a little bit of a longer case, same bullet diameter. Am I right?
No, it's 30 and some change.
Yeah. So it's just
they rounded down, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't fully figured this gun out yet either.
Well, basically, you're getting the same, in the same ballpark energy as 9mm because there's a wide variety there.
Yeah.
And more power than a 380, but with a smaller bullet to give you less recoil is their concept behind it. And it's a cool concept. It's just new cartridges have such a hard time taking off.
Yeah,
when 6.5 Creedmoor 5 years ago, that's what everyone wanted, and now it's struggling.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's one of those things, may or may not take off. I highly doubt it's going to. We haven't pushed a lot of them. We've had them in stock.
I get asked about it a lot, but as for, I don't believe we've sold one yet.
Yeah.
We should put one in the rental case, but there's not enough ammo to put it in the rental case.
Right. So that's the other problem is Federal's the only company that's manufacturing the ammo for it now, and the only way for us to get the ammunition is to purchase the gun, and we're limited on what we can get with that. So it's definitely going to be a dinosaur here in a few years.
So maybe you come on down and you get yourself a 30 Super Carry in 20, 30 years ago of the cool gun that never made it.
If you get the gun and all the ammo you can for it, and you're probably in your 30s or 40s, by the time you're 70 or 80, you can probably cash out.
Well, it's almost like 10mm didn't do that good for a long time.
It didn't.
And now 10mm's got, the last couple of years, had a big resurgence, and there's not even a lot of guns for it. You got some 1911s, Glock, Springfield, and Springfield cut their 10mm line down to the compact only. And finally, Smith & Wesson, you listen to me, you did the 10mm, finally.
Yeah, and I'm a 10mm fan, but I went the opposite direction like a jackwagon with the 357 SIG. So... And the only reason I did that is because I ran into a small stockpile of ammunition for 357 SIG. Very comparable with knockdown power and energy and velocity and all these other things. So ballistically, 357 SIG, 10mm, now this 30 Super Carry, whatever the hell that is, they're all kind of combined into that same market. And,
It is kind of cool, though, that for 100 years, over 100 years actually, 45 and 9 have been the two dominant calibers, and they show no sign of going away anytime soon.
Yep.
9mm is the most popular caliber that people are asking about and buying. It's almost the only caliber we carry. I mean, there's probably less than 10 45s in stock. We have 140 that I'm aware of. 40 pretty much died a few years ago.
It did. So 40 was one of those rounds that was being consumed by the government for a while. One of the biggest buyers of 40 Smith & Wesson, oddly enough, was the post office. The government had used their funds to purchase a bunch of it for military use and police use, things of that nature. So 40's been that middle of the road round that I think is actually going to disappear here moving forward.
Which is a shame because you look at it on paper, the ballistics of a 40 can consistently get you up to about 500 pounds of energy, so it's a good round. And in my opinion, a lot of you are going to disagree with me on this, but the bad reputation it gets, it really doesn't deserve it. I don't think the recoil is bad at all. In my opinion, no different than a 9 unless you're in a really small gun. And, it's definitely got the power, but that died. 10 years ago, we were selling like 2 9s for every 40. And nowadays, it's like we get asked about 40 every couple of weeks.
Yeah, I look at 40 like the cookie that got dropped on the floor. I eat it if I have to, I guess. Whatever, 3-second rule.
And the 10 millimeter guys, they call 40 the 40 short and weak. But that's the nice part about the nice part about the 10 mil is in a revolver at least, Smith & Wesson Ruger make 10 millimeter revolvers, and you can shoot the 40 through it much like a 357-38. Now, I've heard of people shooting 40 through their 10 millimeter semi-autos. I would not recommend it, though. You never know.
I've seen the split cases, so I'm going to disagree with everything you just said. 40's junk. It's a garbage round. Don't buy it. Don't buy the gun. Go with a 10 millimeter or a 357 SIG or anything but 40 cal.
So I'm going to call it. Today is April 6, 2022. Like 15, 20 years from now, 40's going to make a raging comeback, man. Raging. It's going to be just like the 10 millimeter the last few years.
He has no clue what he's talking about. It's Gen X, I swear to God. All right.
I think I'm a millennial, technically.
Whatever.
Well, guys, thank you so much for listening to our first episode of the podcast. And this was a pretty good time, Clinton. I'm glad we finally got some time to sit down and do this. We're
Good stuff.
a little late. We promised it in March, and it's now
we
April.
kind of dropped the ball. We had a busy month, but
and all three of us had a vacation. Cameraman, Clinton, myself. So there's like 3 weeks we just didn't work on it.
Nothing. Glad you enjoyed it as much as I did. Thanks for listening to us, and tune in for our next episode.